How about this for a number? Just 17% of the public think that this Labour government are doing a good job. And I'll be honest, I'd love to have a glass of whatever that 17% have been drinking. And the Prime Minister's personal poll ratings have fallen to, wait for it, -30. That makes Prince Andrew look like a national hero. Notwithstanding Sir Keir's terrible policies, taxing us to oblivion, clobbering pensioners and betting the House on flaky renewables, I've been warning about Sir Keir Starmer's dubious character for years, given his support for the truly dangerous Jeremy Corbyn, his efforts to reverse Brexit, his taking of the knee to the woke mob during BLM, his inability to define what a woman is, and, in the absence of compelling data, calling for more of those ruinous COVID lockdowns in order to look prime ministerial. Lockdowns which, in his new book, Unleashed, Boris Johnson today admits didn't work. It's my view that our new Prime Minister is a narcissistic, greedy, thin-skinned, dishonest man posing as somebody honourable. A man who said that he was going to clean up politics, but wound up cleaning up on freebies instead. But I wonder if he's quite sinister too. Let me play you some excerpts of Sky News' brilliant Beth Rigby on the Electoral Dysfunction podcast. Rigby was clearly quite affected by her recent encounter with the Prime Minister when she quite rightly questioned the scale of the freebies sent his way.
He was absolutely furious with me. It was really uncomfortable.
Just let that sink in. This is nice guy Keir Starmer making a top-notch female journalist feel uncomfortable. Let's just hear those words again.
He was absolutely furious with me. It was really uncomfortable.
Wow. Just wow. Rigby, who in my view is always robust but always fair, goes on to explain what exactly happened.
I asked him about claiming all of the freebies in opposition and the tickets and the clothing, etc., and how that looked, and did he think it had undermined his reputation or messaging, and was he sorry about that? He brought up his son. I did not bring it up.
That's exactly right. He brought his own son into this. No one else did, using a 16-year-old boy as a human shield over the donations row. Extraordinary, but that's the measure of the man. It goes on.
Now discussing his family. I don't want to discuss his family.
She doesn't want to discuss his family because she's got ethics and decency. She's a brilliant journalist. But what about her guest? It gets worse. He digs in on the family stuff.
He kept saying, you know, there are human reasons behind that. And I wasn't trying to argue that with him. What I wanted to talk to him was about the bigger point. I didn't want to get into a row about tickets for football or whether he should claim this flat and go and live there with his family. What I was trying to say is, do you understand how it looks when you present yourself as one thing and then you allow a perception to build that you're just like the others?
Well, I've got to say, I think that's a devastating commentary from Sky's Beth Rigby. But look, the guy's got previous. Take a listen to this word salad from Sir Keir, whilst Leader of the Opposition, after being asked what working class means by the brilliant Nick Ferrari on LBC.
Describe yourself as working class. Sir Keir, define working class.
No, working class is families that work for their living, earn their money through going out to work every day, not through other
not
means.
Middle classes do that?
Well, working class families have the ordinary hope to get on in life. I mean, this has been a story.
Middle classes have that?
Yeah,
as
of course
well?
they do. Of course they do.
Oh, but working families go to work and they have families and they leave the house and they have a cup of tea. Best comedy sketch I've ever seen. Is the man a fraud? You tell me. Meanwhile, the highly respected barrister Alison Bailey, who served under Starmer when he was a top lawyer, went viral this year with a Twitter thread saying how he intimidated her while she worked under him when he served as a top lawyer. It's quite shocking, actually. On one occasion, she alleges that Starmer stared her down outside of their legal chambers in a chilling episode that stays with her to this day. Does Sir Keir Starmer have a problem with women? Well, you tell me. The outgoing Labour MP, Rosie Duffield, who has just quit the party over what she calls sleaze, nepotism and greed, certainly seems to think so. Starmer reportedly ignored Duffield and offered her no support when she was abused and threatened by Labour Party members for standing up for women's hard-won sex-based rights and pointing out the scientific fact that there are two biological sexes which can't be changed. That, by the way, was her great crime. Now, Starmer was in post when this appalling abuse of Duffield happened unchecked. It was so bad, the abuse, that she actually couldn't attend Labour Party conference for fear of her own safety. And yet, after ignoring her throughout this period, Starmer claimed to be on good terms with Rosie Duffield. Except when asked on Twitter how that was possible when he's refused to meet her or engage with her concerns, Rosie Duffield at the time dryly suggested telepathy. Now, it's my sense that the public have never really liked Sir Keir Starmer. And as the truth begins to emerge of what he's really like, I don't think they ever will. Rumours abound online of far worse to come. Spicy, salacious stuff, I'm sure untrue. I couldn't possibly comment. Either way, very few people will ever vote for this man again. If he's not careful, he'll be out by Christmas. This turkey is about to get a stuffing. I don't think it's ever too early for a Christmas reference. Your reaction to that video, Beth Rigby, what a brilliant journalist. I've got to say, yes, she's a rival, but she's the best in the business. Genuinely disturbed by her encounter with the Prime Minister. All she's doing is asking him questions about the freebies, £110,000 worth, right, endemic through the party and the shadow cabinet. And yet he's testy with her, furious, raging at being held to account. Look, I'll get your thoughts on the message board, gbnews.com/your say. But first, tonight's top pundits, I'm delighted to welcome former Labour advisor, the one and only Paul Richards. We have editor-at-large of The Mail on Sunday, that is, of course, Charlotte Griffiths, and former political editor of the aforementioned LBC. They're getting far too many plugs tonight. Other radio stations are available. Theo Usherwood. Now, Paul Richards. I've never liked Keir Starmer.
No.
Can you
tell us something we didn't know?
Because I think he's a fraud. I think he's a phony. I think that he's like Boris Johnson. I think he's essentially a sort of a narcissistic self-promoter only interested in power.
I think Boris took more gifts, actually, when he was Prime Minister. But I think you have to judge...
He never called himself a good man, did he?
You have to judge
We knew he was a bounder.
We have to judge Starmer by his results. And the first result was to turn the Labour Party from complete defeat and totally being in the doldrums, in the depths of this anti-Semitism scandal, into a election-winning force that won a landslide. Just 4 years later, lots of people like me were saying it couldn't be done. I said it on this show. It couldn't be done, I said, and he's done it. His next test is going to be, can he change the country? And he has to be judged on those deeds as well. And I think a lot of this froth around glasses and, tickets and so on will be long forgotten once he starts to turn around the NHS, class sizes, immigration, crime. And that's how he should be judged.
You know me. If he delivers those things, I will eat my words. It's all about policy. It's all about delivery. But intimidating a senior female television journalist...
Well, I think you've overcooked that a bit, because she only says she felt a bit uncomfortable. I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable now, frankly. It's not a very overheated word, is it? And she's a tough old journalist, isn't she? That's all
she's not that old. She's very graceful.
She's a brilliant journalist. I don't think she was saying, oh, it's awful, I've been intimidated. She said she felt uncomfortable.
I don't know. I mean, Maria, when you get a second, we'll cue up that first line, the first clip of Beth Rigby, and we can look at the tone. Well, I don't. Is it ready yet, Ark? Let me know when it's ready, because I just want our viewers, anyone tuning in, just to sort of have a look at the sentiment of what Beth Rigby is saying. Now, why am I drilling into this so deeply, Charlotte? OK, is it an agenda? No. Am I out to get Keir Starmer? Not at all. What it is I need to know the character of our Prime Minister, because it's going to shape the next 4 years of our lives. I think we've got the clip. So watch this and tell me whether you think she's genuinely threatened. Take a listen.
He was absolutely furious with me. It was really uncomfortable.
It takes a lot to make Beth Rigby say something's uncomfortable because she is hard as nails. And the interview was savage. He was really quite cross with her on camera. And I think you're right to pick up on the point that he's got an authenticity problem and his words aren't matching up with his tone and his rhetoric. And he gets under pressure. He gets kind of rude and aggressive with his interviewers because, you know, like any politician, he's weaseling out of things, which is maybe typical of your average politician, but he has always told the world, I'm not one of those people that weasels out of things. I'm Mr. Honourable. I'm such a good guy. But clearly he's not. You know, under pressure, he will throw his 16-year-old son in front of Beth Rigby as a human shield, just like she said.
Is that a fair accusation?
Well, I think she's made a really good point. She didn't bring up the fact that his child was doing his GCSEs. That was totally irrelevant.
Paul, it was insanity for the Prime Minister to ever mention his own son, wasn't it?
I think he was just telling the truth. That's obviously what happened, and that's what he wanted us to know.
I would conceal the truth because I wouldn't want to bring my son into the public spotlight.
I always advise politicians, know where the red line is. Either bring your children in.
Boris never mentioned his kids.
Yeah, and some do, some don't. I mean, Obama mentioned them in every speech. You know, some politicians take a view, and that's fine. I think he was telling the truth, and he's allowed to be robust with journalists. He shouldn't just be a patsy and just let the questions, you know, batter him. If he thinks he should stand up for himself...
But he not just said there's a domestic reason why I took the accommodation rather than even name-checking.
You know full well that would just open up even more questions and say, what is that domestic situation?
For me,
what does
this
that
isn't
mean?
left versus right, Theo. This is about the kind of characters that politics attract. I think there are strong parallels between Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer, that they're both chancers, that they're both essentially, you know, very focused on power, and I would argue it was sort of almost charlatans to some extent.
I'm going to come up with something slightly different that I think is going on here. I think the problem that Starmer has got is that he's too much of a lawyer. And what he does is that he constructs a legal argument. And in this case, his line is that he hasn't done anything wrong. And if you look at the rules, the parliamentary rules, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's declared everything in line with the rules. And when you look at that interview, and it was a particularly bad-tempered interview on the part of the Prime Minister with when he was questioned by Beth Rigby. I thought Beth Rigby was excellent, by the way, and he didn't handle it well. There is this sort of... there's this indignation that he's repeating over and over again, what about the choice? And I've followed the rules and I haven't broken the rules. And he can't stomach what Beth Rigby is putting to him in terms of the way it looks.
OK. Well, listen, the bottom line is, back to me when you can, Ark. The Prime Minister has a mandate to improve the country. He's inherited a mess from the Tories. I wish him good luck in that endeavour, but I've got deep concerns about his character. But I'll give Paul a chance to pick up on that conversation at 10:30.